Welcome to the Candy Colored Studio. I am so excited today to be here with you and to introduce you to one of my very favorite Instagram artist friends, Polly Jones. And Polly and I had never actually met in person until, I guess, technically a few minutes ago on Zoom. And she is a complete treasure. In fact, she's the type of person that you start to follow her on Instagram and you get to know her heart and you get to know just the peaceful, kind nature that she has. And then you get to know her artwork, which is vibrant and whimsy and fun and full of joy. And I think about Polly as that perfect balm or that the thing that you need, whether you're feeling sad and you need a hug or you just need a little more vibrant joy to wake you up because you've had a hard day. Polly is that perfect remedy for every situation. And I just absolutely adore her. And so I'm so excited to have her here. Welcome, Polly.
Thank you so much. And I just have to say it's mutual. I get that from your art too, and just your smile and getting to know you through Instagram and just the different ways that I've gotten to see your art. And I just want to thank you for that introduction. That's just makes my day.
Oh, well, that makes my day. You guys, Polly and I really have been friends on Instagram for a long time. And so this has
Yeah.
been such a treat just to spend time with her. And we've just been talking about her studio. So if you're listening on podcast land, make sure you go over to my website and watch the YouTube version so that you can see Polly in all her goodness and also her studio, because her studio has all this natural light. And when you go on Instagram, you see these snippets of her studio, but I've never seen this much of her studio. And she just explained to me that part of it, and maybe you can tell everyone, is because you guys have been doing some changes over there.
Yes, during this time of staying home, we've had more time to do this sort of thing. But my husband is an artist, and he has used this side of the room that I'm sitting at right here, and that's been his corner. And I've worked on the other side. And we decided just a couple weeks ago that he needed more room, and so we turned our dining room into his studio. And now I have more room and he has more room. So it's been a good thing, but it's been a little crazy trying to shift everything. And he's doing new lighting in his studio. And but I'm really excited because I have a wall that I can work on bigger works. It's just to the left of where I'm sitting. It's not super big, but it's big enough that I can maybe have more than one painting going and kind of switch back and forth, which that'll really help me, I think, um, in my work. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it works out.
Well, I think that's amazing. So, for those of you listening, maybe you already knew this, but I didn't know that Polly's husband is also an artist. And she explained to me that he does more abstract art. And we'll have to look him up. He's Kenny Jones Art, right?
Yes,
Kenny
yes.
Jones Art. And then also, I'm kind of curious. Tell us a little bit more about how everything has been going for you and Kenny. What else has been going on? Obviously, you've been creating more studio space, which is definitely a positive thing.
Yeah, yeah, that's been a good thing. But we, I did a little rehanging art all over the house, and it's we're kind of hermits, so it's not been as hard for us as it would has been for a lot of people. Um, but it's had its ups and downs, just the feelings you get from knowing what's going on in other people's lives. It's been hard, and
Yeah.
so I've gone through some ups and downs with how I felt about actually painting there for a while. Um, but ultimately, just realizing, and especially here the last few weeks with the Black Lives Matter, that's just been on my heart a whole lot, as it is with the whole world, thank goodness. And just thinking about my place as an artist in this world. So I've been trying to be more intentional about thinking in a lot of ways. and I don't know how that's going to come out in my art, but I hope it does in some way.
Oh, I'm sure it will. And I'm excited. And you'll have to let us know when you have, your next big piece that really envelops all those feelings and thoughts that you've been thinking about at this time. I'm excited to see what comes out of
Yeah.
it. And I think too, I think it's been a question that a lot of us as artists have been asking ourselves, well, life is just so different right now and it's hard and people are uncomfortable, and is it fair for me to still create happy, joyful work? And
Hmm.
I don't know, how do you feel about that?
Well, lots of feelings and kind of up and down all over the place. But ultimately, I just truly believe that people need art, and it's a place to go to feed our souls, and that as artists, that's our job is to do that, to put that out there in the world. And
Yeah.
so that's that keeps me going, just and um, helps me to um, feel like I do have a place in this world that hopefully can be useful, because I do want to be useful.
Absolutely. And I feel the same way. I think that I will support whatever you create, Polly, but I think as long as it comes from you and that beautiful heart that I know, it'll be exactly what we need. And I think that it is easy to say, how dare I do something happy or positive right now? But I think if we don't, then how do we ever expect to get out of this difficult situation, right? We need to help each other
Yeah.
out of it, and it takes all of us. And I think that we've realized that from all the things we've been thinking about with Black Lives Matter, and just making sure that everyone knows that they're valued and treasured and that they're important in our eyes, and just helping them reach their potential. And whether it's just a kind word or a hug, I mean, sometimes people don't need much. But I think that if you continue to paint the way that you are, I think that'll help support everybody and just, help us just to continue. So, anyways,
Thank you. I love
that
that.
sometimes I get a little emotional in here. I don't want to cry too much, but I think the world would be a sad place if we didn't have all of our Polly Jones art. So,
Well, and I feel that way about your work too.
well,
I,
thank
I
you.
truly do. So, yeah.
Well, let's hear some more about your art. Let's hear more about you. We haven't talked about where you live. Describe to us, maybe your
Oh,
town or whatever you want to tell
yeah.
us about where you and Kenny live.
We live in a little town called Abilene, Texas, and this is it's kind of funny. We've been here 15 years. We both grew up in Texas, and but we lived in Tennessee for um, I don't know, about 20 years, and we never thought we'd be back in Abilene, which is where we both went to college and met. And so it's been um, it's home for us, and it's where we raised our daughter. We have a daughter who's 27, and she's also an artist of, um, she's getting a degree or a master's degree at the School of Visual Arts in New York, and doing animation and motion graphics. But her
Wow.
degree is called visual narrative, so which I think is a really interesting degree that I had never heard of before. So
Yeah, I haven't either, but I'm so glad that they're coming up with new ways for them to explore and create. That's awesome.
it really is.
So what year is she towards the end? Where is she at in her studies?
Yeah, she is has till the end of summer, and
Okay.
she'll graduate. She works as a graphic designer
Okay.
there in New York too, so she'll be
Oh,
staying there for a little
so
while.
how often do you get to see her?
Well, not enough. It's so far away, but um, a couple of times a year usually.
Okay. That's
So
great.
yeah.
So has she been in New York the whole time? Like since she graduated high school?
No, no, she went to school here in our town. Her dad's a professor here at
Okay.
at the college that we both went to.
Yeah.
And so she was able to go to school there, and as one of our benefits. And then she moved to Austin, and now she's in New York for, I guess this is her a year and a half now that she's been there. It was a long distance program, so she could do it from further away for part of the year.
Oh, nice. That's
So
great. Oh, that's
yeah,
awesome. Okay, so Kenny teaches at the school. That's where you met. That's where you fell in love.
yeah,
You were
yeah.
college sweethearts.
We actually fell in love. No, we didn't fall in love at this time, but we met each other in the painting studio where I was doing my first still life of glass at the time. So that was kind of a weird convergence, because I remember meeting him at that moment. And
Wow. So is he teaching painting or was he teaching glass?
well, he teaches basic design and drawing and ceramics. So
Okay.
that's what he does now. He wasn't a teacher at the time. He was a student as
He was
well.
a student as well.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that's so fun. So, yeah, so then you went to Tennessee for a while and did he teach in Tennessee and you painted or what did you guys do in Tennessee?
Well, he first worked at the Museum of Art in Knoxville. And then later he was a teacher in Henderson, which is East Tennessee or West Tennessee. And during that time, I did a lot of different things. I worked as a silk screener for a sign company. I worked at the Tennessee School for the Deaf as like a dorm mom
Wow.
for elementary age girls. And I just did a lot of different things. And then when we had our daughter, I stayed home and I watched children part of the time while and painted, always combining painting with whatever I was doing. So
That's amazing. Oh my goodness. So yeah, you guys have tried lots of different things. And then obviously your daughter, she had two very creative parents and she said, I want to do the same thing or something similar. Did she always want to go into it or did she kind of fight it for a while and say, I don't want to be like mom and dad?
well, there might have been some of that fighting. I think there's a lot of pressure having parents who are artists, people.
Yeah.
She would but she couldn't help it. She was creative and it came out, but it comes out in different ways than it does with us. And so that's been really interesting
Yeah, I think
and
that's really
gratifying.
special. Well,
Yeah.
and it's fun too because you can support each other in all these different things, right?
Right, right.
And it's fun sometimes to do something a little bit differently, but be able to communicate with a lot of the same language, even though you're not creating the same things.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Well, okay, so tell us, okay, so you have your daughter, your husband, anything else you want to tell us about like your background? You obviously both grew up in Texas and you ended up at that school together. Did you always know that you wanted to be an artist?
Yeah, that's kind of all I did. And, I was one of those kids that was my thing. And
Yeah.
um, I I think I got good feedback for it. My mother painted, and
Okay.
my dad was really creative, and they were encouraging, and so that was a good background for. They didn't oppose me majoring in art, which was a good thing, and
That is a good
doesn't
thing.
happen to everybody. Yeah.
No, no, it's hard. I think it's really hard for parents because, a lot of times they're the ones paying for it and they want to make sure that you're getting the most out of the money that they're sending, right?
Yes. Yes.
Well, that's good. That's good that you had so much support. Did Kenny feel like he had a lot of support from his parents as well?
Yeah. Yeah. He did. I
That
mean,
is
his
so
mom
nice.
wanted him to be a doctor, but kept giving him anatomical models and stuff, trying to trying to get
He's
him to
like,
be a
I'll just
doctor.
do it
But
in
yeah,
ceramics, mom. I'll just
exactly.
create. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Okay, so tell us a little bit more about your style. For for anyone that they're just meeting you for the first time. Tell us about your style. Your also like did you always paint in this style, or is this something that you gradually evolved? And obviously, I think that the style that you're doing now is the style that I've known. I this is so obviously it's been happening for a while, but anything you want to
Yeah.
share with that?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I've been doing still life paintings forever, and I kept thinking I'll probably move into some other direction eventually. But I just, and I have begun doing landscapes on occasion, but I always like start missing still life again, so I go back to that. But
Yeah.
it's fun to have, have something to do, like if I get a little burnout on what I've been up to. It's a fun thing to do with the landscape. But um I what happened was, I had made connections, like with had shows and stuff in Tennessee, and had all my art connections there. And I was doing still lifes, and I had kind of just straightforward, painting what I saw. Um, and then I thought there's got to be something else um, going on, because there's so much more that goes into the act of looking than just what's there. And so I started putting these little wooden discs on, the that I would paint over, like in a grid of, they were usually circles or ellipses. And so I guess I started doing that in Tennessee. And then when we moved here, I was a there's something about moving and getting a new studio situation. I mean, it was in the house, but that just kind of shakes you up, and it's like, what do I do now? And this was back in 2005, and I started using the computer, which I had not really done much of. And I came across this guy named Kaiser. Have you heard of him at all? He,
No, but now I
okay.
have to go look him up.
Well, he's a wonderful painter, but he started this movement kind of called daily painting. And
Oh,
it was where you probably heard of that.
yeah, the Daily Painters. Is he the one that
Yeah,
started? Yeah, totally. Okay,
he
I know
was
who
the
he is.
first
Keep going.
guy, and he would like do a small painting every day and then put it up on eBay and
Yeah,
auction it off.
yeah,
Had a blog. This was back when everyone had to have a blog.
yeah.
And so I started a blog, and I started doing these little small paintings, which is I recommend, for artists, if you're stuck, just do some little paintings. There's something about that that's
Yeah.
just really useful. And so that was perfect for me. And I then, I didn't like putting them on eBay for some reason. That felt weird. But I discovered Etsy, and
Yeah.
when it was in beta, I think it was just really new. And I I ended up starting, getting a following for my blog, and doing these small paintings, and they were still straightforward. I was using acrylic, and on like a 8 by 8 inch canvas was my normal size. And I just really enjoyed that. And I did not do it every day. I wasn't that, I mean, I know, think there's someone, Lisa Daria Kennedy has like she's on her thousandth. I don't know how many paintings, but she has never missed a day. And
Yeah.
anyway, I realize I haven't. Um, but then I started doing larger paintings again, and just that opened me up to feeling a lot of freedom. And instead of using the discs, I started using paper and fabric, but mostly paper. And that's where the layering came in. But it was just born out of a desire to kind of add another dimension, and create interest. Like, I want to draw people in to look closely, have something that you can see up close and then far away. And then I started using polka dot paper quite a bit as a collage element. And I do that because I like how it's a way of circles are all about infinity, and there's just this sense that there's an order underneath everything. And so it's a way to talk about spiritual things, and also physical things like molecules and atoms. And so for me, it just became kind of a rich shorthand for expanding the still life, which sometimes I think that's kind of silly thinking about all that in a still life, but
No, I
it
think that it's
works. And
beautiful. It totally works. And I think that that's why so many of us are drawn to you and your art, because there is so much depth, not just visually, but like you say, all these concepts and ideas and exploration that's going on. I think that that's
thank
so
you.
beautiful.
Well, thank you very much. I I'm also I choose what I paint because a lot of the things are inherited items, like from my mom or my grandmother, and a lot of things, like I'm this major thriftaholic, which the quarantining has put a halt to that, but it's a good thing. But I just have hordes of dishes that I feel like have a history, because
Yeah.
I feel like they have a past, and they speak to me in a way that makes me want to paint them more. And fabrics, like vintage fabrics, and also the papers I use are from old children's books, and vintage dictionaries, and just different things, that I end up feeling like, it's just this vocabulary that I choose from. Like, I have a shorthand manual. People probably don't even know what shorthand is.
Oh, I do, but you're right. You're right. Not probably have some young listeners that don't know what it is, right?
Yeah, yeah. It was a way, um, that secretaries used to record notes, and I actually took a course in high school because I'm old, and we did that sort of thing.
You're not
We
that old.
took typing.
That is funny. Yeah, I
Yeah,
did take a typing class, if that makes you feel any better, Polly.
it does.
I did take a type. So yeah, so you did do shorthand, because my grandma could do a shorthand, and my mom would always say that it was her shorthand, like it was just hers. And I didn't
Uh-huh.
understand really what that meant. I figured there was like a acceptable shorthand language out there that you could learn. But then I like how you talk about how this has become you have all these pieces, and whether it's the paper, the fabric, the objects that have become your personal shorthand. I think that's so beautiful.
Well, thanks.
Yeah,
I
and the
think,
thing that I love about it too is I love tying people together, connecting people and generations and times and cultures. And so I think that's another reason why I'm so drawn to your work, because you do such a good job of tying them all together, and it feels very comfortable. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I think for me it helps me understand people better when I learn about their cultures or where they live or what it's like to grow up in their town. And I think that it's really easy to feel that in your work. In fact, you posted a painting this week, and it's the big one on the easel, right? The a recent commission. Is that the one?
yes, yes. And
I
she
would love
just
for you to
approved
tell us
it.
about it.
Woo!
Oh, say it again.
She just approved it. So I'm
Oh,
ready to
that is
mail it
huge.
off.
That
It
is
is.
huge. Congratulations. Well,
'Cause,
yeah, tell us about that piece, because it's so beautiful. And if you don't mind, I might
um,
take that picture off your Instagram and put it with this episode so that people can look at it.
sure. Actually, I've changed it a little bit. I'll send you a better picture
Okay,
if you want.
awesome.
But um, yeah, what was I supposed to talk about? I'm
Oh,
sorry.
just tell us about, so there were a lot of very specific books and pieces in
Oh,
that
okay.
piece. Like,
Yeah.
or is it stuff that you came up with? Did she choose it? Yeah, give us the story behind that piece.
Well, it was really neat because she sent me um, some pictures of where it would go, and she sent me a photograph of her favorite platter that she has, which is a vintage platter that had all the colors she loved in it. And so I just kept that up on my screen, and I would look at that, and luckily there were colors I love too, that they fit right in, with what I want to do. So
Mhm.
that was huge. made it fun, you know.
Yeah.
But she she told me some things she loved. She loved red peonies and poppies and lemons, and and she shared with me some of the paintings that I'd done before that she really was drawn to, and so that was, you know, it's just like having a mix of things to try to
Yeah.
come up with. And she had a special size she wanted, so and proportion.
Yeah.
It
So
became
what's
kind of a collaboration in a way.
yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about when you were talking, because it ends up being this creation of minds and also paints and colors, and I just think it's so
Yeah.
amazing. So is it about what, 36 by 36? How big is it?
Well, I think it's 28 by 30. So
Okay.
it's a little
Yeah.
smaller than,
Yeah, it's kind of hard to
um,
tell. Okay, so is
yeah.
it a little taller than it is wide?
It's slightly wider. I hope I did it right.
No, I'm sure you did. It's just
Yeah.
far away that I think the plants are kind of short. Like it's hard for me to see where the depth is, but yeah.
Gosh, I hope I did it the right orientation for her. I
He
need to find
approved
out.
it. It's meant to be.
I kind of have
Oh,
this thing where I get things mixed up sometimes like that. So
me too. It's
days of the
okay.
week, numbers.
I've done some crazy things with mine. Well, I think it's absolutely stunning, and you can see so
Thank
much of the
you.
detail even from, clear over here on the other side of the room. I think it's going to be just a really, really happy piece, and I love hearing about your process. And I think that that's really important for collectors to understand that you can say these are pieces in your collection that I love and that I've been drawn to. So will you consider these pieces while you're creating it for me? And then, of course, the platter
Yeah.
that's her platter, the favorite flowers, the lemons, just all those things. It's just, I think sometimes I think it's important to say this is a good way to do a commission, or this process works for me. But I think a lot of times
Yeah.
people don't even understand that there is a process within the commission,
Yeah.
right? Especially when it's the first time they've ever commissioned a piece. It's a little, you are kind of speaking a different language. So it takes a while to kind
Yeah.
of understand each other.
And there's back and forth. And I mean, she helped me make it a better painting with a suggestion she made at
Totally.
the end. And, you know, it kind of, I, I felt a little like, wow, I should have thought of that already. But I'm glad to be able to have a communication process going where, you know, it works out that way. And
Yeah.
I had to
And I
have a
think
little
there's part
humility though about that.
Oh, for sure. It makes you so, yeah. And then also, I think that it becomes more, there's more ownership on their end because they
Yeah.
really put a lot of heart and thought into it, just as your hands did, right?
Yeah. Do you do a lot of commissions, Katrina?
I do. I do a lot of commissions too. I have too many right now, but it gets me so excited. And I think what's fun about doing commissions, like you say, the back and forth, you really get to know that person. Sometimes you already
Yeah.
know them, but other times you get to know them on a really personal way. And
Hmm.
for me, I did a piece not too long ago, a big circle, and it took me a long time to do it, but it was a portrait, a family portrait, and the mom had chosen, she loves to garden and she loves flowers, and so she chose flowers that she thought represented each member of their family.
Oh, wow.
And it was just really beautiful. And there was, again, a lot of going back and forth. We had to change a few
Hmm.
things, just trying to figure out the best way. And when we finished, it was like, oh, just, it was fun to do a family portrait that was just a little bit different. And they have like 5 kids and a dog, and so we made sure, and we had some tall grasses that went in the it was a still life, it was a floral still life, and there were some tall grasses that represented Doug the dog.
Oh, I love it.
And each
I
of the
love
family
it.
members, and it was just really fun because she couldn't decide which flower she wanted for her, but she had like 6 or 7 that were favorite flowers of hers, and so I just intertwined them everywhere kind of towards the bottom, and then her husband and the boys, who are the oldest, were kind of at the top, almost like an umbrella over kind of
Oh,
protecting the family. And then she was like the foundation, kind of weaving between everybody. And it was just, I don't know. I just have so many, I thought about her family the whole time. I would be
yeah.
painting one of the children and I felt like I kind of tapped into who they were, and just kind of had a new love and respect, even though I didn't really know them. I kind of got to know their heart while I pondered and thought about them.
Oh,
So
I love it.
isn't that fun? And when I
That
went
is
to take it
wonderful.
over towards the end, we were trying to decide the background color. And so I brought it over. I said, let's just bring it over and put it. We knew where it was going to go. I said, let's just put it in the space so we know what color is going to be the perfect color. And one of her sons answered the door, and I said hi to him like I knew him because I'd spent all this time thinking about him. I think he thinks I'm the crazy artist lady that knows everyone's names. But yeah, I just, you kind of fall in love with them when you're
Yeah.
spending time doing that for them. So, but yeah, that's really cool. Okay, so I have another question. So obviously, um your unique style and your layers and all this wonderful shorthand and language that you've created, you've had an opportunity to exhibit in a lot of places since Etsy. Obviously your blog and Etsy were great starting points, but now you've got these relationships with galleries. Like, um how did that all come about? Was it something slowly, and did you introduce yourself, or did people find you? Like, how did that all happen for you?
That, well,
That's a
that
lot
has
of
been a thing.
questions.
No, I love it. Thank you for asking that. I I would like to say that I had intentionally sought that sort of thing, which I should have. Every artist should, but I kind of waited, and um, things happened to me. Like, people approached me for the galleries,
Yeah.
and so that's how it worked for me. But I have to wonder if I had, I am going to be 60 this summer, and I could have probably started that process earlier if I'd had more confidence and more initiative. Like, I see you, I just, I'm so impressed with how, I mean, number one, you do so much beautiful artwork, but
Oh,
you also um, really work hard at finding ways of sharing your artwork, and that's such a part of being an artist, and I've kind of lagged behind in that, so I'm trying to catch up though, and
well, I
it's
think
been
you're doing
fun.
a great job. And I wouldn't necessarily, how do you say this? I think some of us, oh, I don't know. I think personality wise, sometimes, some of us probably jump too quickly, and that's okay. And that's okay. And like you say, some
Yeah,
of us feel like we've lagged behind, but I look at you and I look at your path, and it's a beautiful path. And so for me, I kind of feel like it it's really nice for people to hear about your journey and your path so they can say, well, if my path is more like Polly's than Katrina's, it's okay. And that, you need to do what feels right for you, right? I don't
yeah,
know.
I agree. I think things happen the way they're supposed to happen in your life, and um, when you orient your life to um, being, open to life in a way, and I don't know. I'm kind of rambling now, but
No, no, I love that. For
it,
me, I've always connected to your soul and your spirit, and I know you're a spiritual person, Polly. And so I think that for me, when I hear you talk about that, it's kind of like, you're open to the goodness. You're open to the goodness of life. And, sometimes I think that our Heavenly Father and Mother do put us in a path, and allow opportunities to happen. And sometimes we need to, take the reins and kind of like step it up. But other times we just need to be patient and let it come to us. And I think that there's no right or wrong way, but I love hearing that you did have people come and find you, and they knew that your work would fit in their gallery. And I think that that's really nice too, because sometimes it's scary saying, take a chance on me. Sometimes
mhm,
when you go and approach galleries, you're asking them to take a chance on you when they don't really know you or they don't know your work. But if they come to you, it's because they have collectors that they know would love your work. And so I think that, again, there's no right or wrong, but I think that
yeah,
there is a little bit of safety when you have somebody say, Holly, your work is exactly what my collectors need, right?
Well, thank you. That and even then though, they don't know for sure, and I've had a gallery where it just didn't work, like there weren't collectors there for the larger work. And so, when that happens, you just find another opportunity. It was weird because another opportunity happened like that week. And so that's kind of interesting how things
Yeah.
tend to work out, And, but I like what you said about how every journey is different, every path is different, and different and bad.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Okay, so speaking of paths being different, Polly, obviously you took a very traditional route. You were able to study art in college. Your husband obviously did, and then you've still, as a couple, you've stayed kind of you've been able to do, things that sound familiar to artists, going
yeah.
to school. But how do you feel about what are your thoughts and opinions about, especially right now? We've got all these students graduating from high school, or maybe they've done a year or two of school and it's all online, and they're asking themselves, do I need to continue to take out loans to pay for this school, or should I go and work for an artist for a while? Or what are your thoughts on all of these different
Yeah.
opportunities?
Um, well, like you say, I'm kind of biased. So
It's
the
okay, we want to
professor,
hear all about it.
um, and a cloud went over, so now I'm dark. I'm sorry about that, but
Oh, that's okay,
um,
it'll come back.
it'll come back. But I I was thinking about that question, and I can only say for me, I'm really glad that I did go to college and study art. It wasn't an art school, but it was a Bachelor of Fine Arts in painting. And because of that, I was able to do sculpture and ceramics as well, and art history. And those are probably things I wouldn't have done on my own. And I feel like that enriched my whole art experience.
Ooh, yeah.
Um, but, it's a different financial climate right now. And I would never say for anyone else what to do, because I think for some people it would be right to go ahead and go into debt, or work hard and get scholarships. There's lots of those out there, but for other people that's just not right. um, and there are so many things, like you were saying, internships and apprenticeships, those kind of things. So I'm being wishy-washy, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. What I'm getting out of what you're saying is that it's hard for you and I, Polly, to tell people what to do. Instead, you know, they need to do what they feel is right, and
Yeah,
to follow their path and to follow their heart. And there are so many possibilities. And I think too, I love how you talked about how if you hadn't have gone to school, you wouldn't have been able to take those art history classes and to have those experiences. You probably would have done something different, and you're glad that you're able to do that. And so I kind of
yeah,
feel like if your heart's telling you to do an internship this summer and then jump in and take specific classes, then do it, because you just never know where it's going to take you. And we
that's
don't
right.
always,
Yeah,
I don't know, you just don't always see. But I like that, because I think it's true. I think it's really easy to, to give good advice, but it's also wisdom to say there are options, and I'm grateful,
yeah.
for the ones that I had, but I don't want to tell you what to do.
Well, and one thing, these days there is so much you can learn online that's
Yeah.
incredible. And so that does change the whole, that changes the way things look than from when I was starting out like that. But I don't regret. I'm glad I went, and I'm still friends with people I went to school with. The other people who are still doing art, that we were college friends, and there's that kind of camaraderie that's nice too.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, that's so fun. Yeah, I think it is. It's been nice for me as well to have different artist friends to, throughout your life. You have these connections and sometimes you go away for a little while or move places and then you come back together and it's fun to see what they've been doing and how they feel about their work and
Yeah,
definitely enriches what you're creating, right?
it is.
Yeah, so I think yeah, those are great. I loved all those things that you talked about. Um, so tell us, Polly, what are some of the things that you've had to give up to pursue this life and this journey as an artist?
Well, I don't feel like I've had to give up a lot. I mean, as um, things, time, time is something you have to give up occasionally, time spent in other things. But um, it was it was really important for me to stay home with my daughter when she was little,
Yeah.
and this worked well with that because you can when you work at home you can interrupt yourself, and it never felt like a burden really. Of course, I don't have twins, and
It's okay,
so
most of us don't. Oh man.
um, but I kept other children in the house, um, and was so that was a bit of a thing, a balance. It's always a balance with
Yeah.
but I feel like I've gained so much, um, just in all my roles, and so I don't know. It's hard to say what I give up. I didn't really know how to answer that.
Oh, that's okay. I feel like you're the kind of person though, Polly. I feel like you're very intuitive and that I think some of us sometimes it's okay, how do I word this? I feel like sometimes it's really easy to feel maybe persuaded or feel overwhelmed that if we're not trying all the things, that we're not being a good mother or artist or a wife or friend. But I feel like you're the type of person that you've always been really intuitively happy. Just, you're like, okay, right now I'm going to focus on being a mother. Right now I'm going to focus on being an artist. And I think that it takes a lot of strength to actually not do every single thing but to just embrace the things that
Mhm.
you really love. And it looks like you've embraced motherhood and this artist life. And I love that.
I thought of something I've given up though
Okay,
that I should
good.
have mentioned. Money.
Oh, yes.
Because I mean, honestly, it's just not lucrative. I
Yeah.
mean, it is for some people, but for me, it hasn't been extremely lucrative. It's been like I make enough money that my husband doesn't have to teach summer school in the summer, and
That's
I'm really
great.
happy about that. And every year, I make more money, which you want to get rewarded for what your time in that way. And you want your work out there. So, I mean, there's lots of reasons you want to sell your work. But yeah, it's just not always, if you figure out um, how much you're getting paid per hour, I would say you're giving up something a lot of
Totally.
times as an artist. So.
Yeah, and yet, what would you say that it's been totally worth the trade-off for you? I mean, like you say, your husband he doesn't have to go into work during the summer.
Right,
So,
right. He gets to paint in the summertime and stuff. So,
nice.
um, yeah, it is totally worth the trade-off. And part of the lifestyle is just deciding what to, you know, making choices about getting into debt, so you don't have
Yes.
to make those kind of, job decisions like going back to a paid position. Or so it's kind of about positioning yourself where you can live,
Yeah.
um, because it's always uncertain,
Mhm.
what your income is going to be. You can't predict, which is not like
Absolutely.
a lot of jobs. It's a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. And when we get paid, it's like, oh, It's this happy
Yes,
surprise, but it's not like that for most people, right? And even
right.
when you have a commission, you might think, oh, if I can finish this by the end of next week, then hopefully I can get paid in a few weeks. And sometimes it takes a few more weeks before your piece gets approved. And, you know,
Yeah.
just, yeah. Well,
So
I think that's
that
good.
that
I
is a
think that's
trade-off. Yeah.
yeah, I think that we do give up that financial predictability. We give up security. I like how you talked about choices because I think that no matter how much money we have, we do need to make choices. And we do choose where we live and we decide, do we want to live here because it's exciting, or do we live here because our house is a lot less expensive? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
there's so many
exactly.
reasons why we make those choices. And I think as artists, we do have to, I'm sure I mean, maybe your daughter will make it big in New York City. And so there's obviously
Uh,
there's more potential if you were to live in certain places or have a gallery maybe in New York City. But
right,
yeah.
right.
But to
Yeah.
have this beautiful studio.
Well, yeah, you'd you'd be in a little apartment probably, the the way the way the housing is, it totally affects artists' lives and insurance, that sort of thing.
Yes,
Those type of things.
totally. Oh, well, those are good things.
Unfortunately come into it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so tell us about your horizon, Polly. What do you have on the horizon? Obviously, you and I talked about how the space to your left, you're going to be able to do some really big pieces there. And so that's going to be really exciting. So, yeah, what do you want to tell us about what's coming up for you?
Well, I have some work I need to finish for a gallery that I've got some work in the Hill Country down near Fredericksburg, and I need to touch base with this other gallery to see if they had been closed, because of the virus, and I haven't really been
Mm,
communicating with them, but I suspect they're going to be ready for some new work.
yeah,
So my my deadlines are kind of vague. I've got some things, the Campbell Collective. I've got some deadlines for that coming up,
good.
um, and I seems like I wrote something down because I knew I was going to forget.
Oh,
Oh,
you're fine.
I started doing workshops occasionally, and I was going to do a spring workshop for the Grace Museum here in town, and that fell through because of social distancing, and
Mm,
I'm gonna they're gonna be rescheduling that. So those are the kind of things. They're all kind of vague, except a couple of deadlines. I'm feeling like I need to take a break from doing commissions for a little while and just
mhm.
focus back on personal work.
Good.
And because I've been doing back-to-back commissions all year, which has been wonderful, but I'm just ready to do a little bit of, exploration.
Totally.
I got a set of gouache that I'm hoping to have a little fun with, and on some works on paper, like for the Campbell Collective, how they um, their format is the works on paper. I loved your candy shop paintings
Oh,
that you had
thanks.
in that. Those were wonderful.
Thank you. Well, I have to say, I love those ladies so much. They're so great. And I
Yes.
think that they're one of the few, it was easy for them to go into the stay at home period because most of the things they were doing were already online, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I mean, I've been able to see your work come, like new work come into the Campbell Collective for that reason, which is so great, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking about your workshops. I have some friends here that are doing some workshops outside. Would the museum
Oh,
ever let you do it like out? Do they have like a garden or like an outdoor space that you could do it?
they just have a parking lot. So
Oh,
I
that's
don't
not
think
that
so. Yeah.
exciting. Would
Yeah.
have to set up some really colorful umbrellas for everyone to, because
Yeah.
that's not very exciting. But maybe, I mean, even if they could sponsor it, but you did it at the park, or I don't know.
That's a
I've
great
got,
idea. Yeah, I hadn't
yeah, a
thought
couple
of
of
that.
friends are doing it. One, she's doing it in her backyard, and then the other one is going to do one. The gal who usually puts on the market is going to have it in her backyard, which I think is a great way to do it. And
Yeah,
so I don't know, it's an option. I think that the biggest thing that I've learned about all this is that, is there another way that we can do this? How can
yeah,
we achieve, and it doesn't have to be the same. Maybe we don't get to have 20 people come to the workshop, but instead we only have 8, and that's okay. But for them to still get to have, a special experience and create with you, that would be really nice. I don't know. So, I mean, you'll have
yeah.
to
I
you'll
love
have to
that.
brainstorm with the museum and see if they would be willing to do something like that, because I think that a lot of us just need to still have opportunities that are similar, even if it's not the same. I think that
Yeah,
gives everybody comfort, and I don't know, just enriches their week. So you'll have to keep me
I
posted.
agree.
Let me know how that goes.
I will. I will.
Okay, so yeah, so what obviously we've got those things coming up, and then tell us, I am curious, are you still doing your blog?
No, I just kind of let it die. It's out there still, of course, but I use Instagram and Facebook, and
Mhm.
you can only, or I can only have the energy to do so much. So
I
I just
know. I am yeah, I was kind
focused
of
it on
curious.
there.
I've got some old blogs too, and yeah, I think that I think it's okay, but I wanted to make sure that people knew where they can find you. So obviously you can follow Polly on Instagram and Facebook, and then what was the other one you said? Did you say one more?
I
Instagram,
don't think
Facebook.
so.
Do you do a newsletter? You have a newsletter and email.
Yes, I have a website, and there's a sign up for my newsletter on there. And I do
Perfect.
every year. This will be my 11th year, I think. I do a pumpkin painting, pick a pumpkin painting giveaway. And so I get a lot of I have a lot of fun with that. And people sign up for that kind of to get the newsletter that
Yeah.
announces when that is and who the winner is and stuff. So,
Oh, I love that. So definitely make you sign up. Make sure that you sign up for Polly's newsletter. And what else was I going to ask you? Yeah, I love your pumpkins. They are so great. And they're always so, it's just fun to embrace the seasons. And
yes.
I like that you go back and forth between the still life and the landscapes. But then when the pumpkins come out, I'm like, oh yeah, it's Polly's pumpkins. It just makes me happy. So yeah, no, that'll be really good. Well, that is awesome. Well, Polly, you are so wonderful. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for sharing with us your studio, about your life, and just all the goodness that you're putting out into the world. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you. It's just been a pure pleasure to get to know you in person, voice to voice, face to
Right.
face.
Totally. Oh, well, you're loved. And we want to say to all of you listening today, we're sending lots of love from Polly and I to each of you from the Candy Colored Studio and
Yay.
from Polly's studio. Goodbye,
Thank
everyone.
you.